Hello and namaste, my name is Nidhi Nagori and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is specifically for people who are asking me to create something in Asia, some content in Asia, especially for my folks who are from India and want to be closer to home, don't want to move to Europe, don't want to move to North America, don't even want to consider moving so far away. So if you are interested in considering an opportunity in Asia, whether it's for work, whether it's for study, this video is for you because I'm going to be comparing two countries, Singapore and Hong Kong. And if either of these countries have been on your mind, then trust me, you're going to love this video because it's going to be full of information and power-packed. And so without any further ado, let's get straight into the video. Alright, I'll just give a quick backstory, a quick context as to why I wanted to do this video. So I got a lot of questions around Singapore and what are the opportunities in Singapore. And I obviously want to be honest every time that I create a content piece. It is with a lot of research, with a lot of hard work. And obviously I want to be upfront and honest about whatever the real situation is. Now, if you've been following the situation in Singapore, right after the pandemic, the Singaporean government tightened restrictions, making it very, very difficult for foreigners to get employment opportunities. The Singaporean government introduced specific regulations and tightened a lot of the formalities around issuing or even renewing employment pass for that reason. But I'm sure you're thinking that the pandemic is a thing of past. It happened in 2020, we're in 2022. A lot of countries are reopening, and so the immigration situation might have changed. Unfortunately, that hasn't really happened in Singapore. The immigration situation has changed for maybe IT workers only, because now they have a separate pathway to get the IT workers, the tech workers into the country. But the overall situation hasn't changed. In that sense, Singapore has really been an outlier because most countries by now have liberalized their immigration except Singapore. So honestly, if you've been considering Singapore, this may not be the right time. In fact, if you're looking at a Singaporean degree or education from there, I actually recommend against it because the situation right now is very dire. If you talk to international students in Singapore, especially people who've gone from India, you'll realize that they are finding it difficult to even find internship opportunities, which don't even need visa sponsorship. From some of my reliable sources in Singapore, I've also gotten to know that now there is like an employment ratio that a lot of employers have to follow. It's an unsaid rule. It's not published anywhere. But basically, for every one foreign worker, you need to have anywhere between 12 to 15 Singaporean nationals. Now, that's a very huge ratio for a country where 40% of their population or the workforce itself was made up of immigrants. In short, I strongly recommend against Singapore given the situation that we're in. But who knows, things might change tomorrow in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 9 months, whenever it happens. I promise to make a video first on my channel. So if you're just following my YouTube channel, you'll get to know if things in Singapore have changed at all. But I don't want you to lose heart. When I was doing my research, I actually came across a better option, which is still closer to India, still offers something similar, and that is Hong Kong. I'm sure you're already wondering, is it even politically stable? Hong Kong continues to be one of the most cosmopolitan cities in the world. When things got out of hand politically, it was the foreign workers who moved out of Hong Kong, not the jobs. The jobs continue to remain in Hong Kong. That created a labor shortage because a lot of foreign workers felt that it suddenly wasn't safe. It has been more than 2 years to that situation. I'm sure that if you go into a quick Google search about it, about the political tension that existed between China and Hong Kong, you will realize that to a large extent, a lot of the political tensions have subsided since Hong Kong has already undergone an election, and most of the tension existed between the Chinese and the Hong Kong nationals. The pathway for immigrants was always clean and good enough. Of course, the labor shortages exist right now. They did not exist 2 years or 3 years ago. So these labor shortages have made it a viable destination. And now let's talk about Hong Kong and what it has to offer. First thing that I was totally surprised by, completely taken aback by, was that Hong Kong has points-based immigration. Just like Canada, Australia, UK, New Zealand, Hong Kong has also followed their pathway and has started their points-based immigration system, which is called QMAS, Quality Migrant Admission Scheme. Now, the terminology is different, but it is exactly what you know about express entry in Canada, what you know about getting a PR in Australia, getting a PR in New Zealand. It is the exact same thing. UK one is slightly different, and I've spoken about UK PR on my Instagram quite a bit, so if you want to go and watch that, make sure you do. But the Hong Kong one is actually similar to Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. It follows the same path where you get points for various factors. And those factors are age, qualification, which is your educational qualification, work experience, and language proficiency. These 4 remain common in all of these countries. It remains a requirement in Canada, it remains a requirement in Australia, New Zealand, and even Hong Kong. Now, just like Canada and Aus, even in Hong Kong, the younger you are, the more points you get. But that doesn't mean that you can be a baby or you can be 18 years old, obviously. The younger you are with a relevant experience would actually add up to more points. So if the younger you are, if you're below 30, you get more points. If you have a master's or a PhD, you get more points. The more work ex you have, the more points you get for that. And then comes the language proficiency. If you know Cantonese, you also get specific points for that, but English is still an option. Now that we know that Hong Kong has points-based immigration, who would I recommend it to? If you are somebody who thinks that you are good with your skill sets, you want to be closer to India, you think Hong Kong is a good option for you, and if you're somebody who has, say, 3 to 5 years of work ex, then I think QMAS is actually a good pathway for you. You get points for having a spouse as well. So it's pretty similar to the Canada and Aus situation. And I think it's good for people who have some amount of experience and are comfortable and confident that they'll be fine. Now, keep in mind, this is no sponsorship. You sponsor yourself like Express Entry. You are the one who's applying to Hong Kong. You're the one who's telling them, I intend to move, I want to live there, work there, etc. And once you are in, you then have to find a job and all of that. So obviously that requires some amount of gumption and confidence. If you feel you're there in terms of your level of confidence and gumption, go for it. Now, if you don't feel you're there, or if you feel like you want to have an additional degree, you want to study a little bit more, what does Hong Kong have to offer? First of all, Hong Kong has an amazing program, IANG, for international students. We'll talk about all the benefits of that, but I do want to mention that Hong Kong also has a pathway to study for free. Now, we'll talk about that as well. So I'm very excited about this. Now, let's jump into what happens if you are an international student. First, when you move as an international student, if you have a dependent, say suppose you have a spouse or you have a kid and you want to move with them, your dependent also gets the right to work. So you can start studying and your dependent can start working. Now, when you are studying, obviously you have expenses. You have to pay for your tuition, you have to pay for your university stay, etc. So your spouse can actually work and make up money for that. That way, you're not really spending anything. Whatever costs you have are getting covered by the income that your spouse is making. You can also work part-time on the student visa. So you can also make some money and then your spouse can also make some money and then together you can cover up the costs. Now, once you complete your degree, you get up to 12 months to find a job in Hong Kong. You don't need any visa for that. You're eligible to work for anyone that you want to, any employer. So you have full 12 months to actually sit and find a job. Just to give you some context, most countries give you just 90 to 180 days, which is 3 to 6 months. Hong Kong gives you 1 full year to look around, to find opportunities, to see if you want to work for someone. And then once you work for someone, you move on to a work permit. Now, the good thing is that your dependent can still continue to work. So if they are dependent on you, their visa status changes, but they're still able to work. So they can still continue making money while you're doing the job search and all of that. Sounds good. But what if I don't have a dependent and I still want to study for free? So there are 2 ways to do that. First is obviously going for scholarship, bursaries, and financial aid, which is very standard and you can get it in almost any country. So apply for all the scholarships that are available for international students. If you're from India, make sure you use the special scholarships that exist for Indian students and Indian nationals. So you have the option of that. Then you have the bursaries. Now, bursaries are generally given to people in need. It's not merit-based, so you don't have to be like an excellent student to get it. As long as you have proof to show that you are not that well financially, you will be eligible for a bursary. And the third thing is a financial aid. You can get it from Hong Kong itself. Within Hong Kong, you can get some support from back home. So that's number 1. Number 2 is doing vocational or internship-based courses. So there are some courses which have a mandatory requirement of doing an internship or doing a training, some program that you have to do apart from just studying. The good thing is that you can start working while studying in this. Now, you won't be able to work full time. It really depends on the program and the classification. If they quantify that internship as like a course itself, like a course credit itself, then yes, you might be able to work more than 20 hours a week. But it really depends on the program that you pick. In short, what you can do is you can start doing an internship along with your course. Now, these are like regular jobs because you start working in a corporate. So you're obviously making more than what you would make if you did like a typical student job, which is say doing waitressing or working in a coffee shop or working in a library, etc. So these would obviously pay you more. And some of these organizations also sponsor your college degree. So they'll pay for your tuition. They might not cover it 100%. I know only a few people get 100% coverage. But even if you get a 50 to 75% coverage of your tuition, that's a lot of help and a lot of support. And then you can like work in the middle, you can do internship and cover off your living costs and the remaining amount if it's not sponsored. By now, I'm pretty sure you're wondering why all these benefits for international candidates. Well, obviously because Hong Kong still has the jobs, it still has the economy, it just doesn't have the workforce to support it. 5 years ago, it was an incredibly difficult place to immigrate to, but things have significantly changed since then. Similar to UK, but of course a much smaller economy. Hong Kong continues to remain extremely cosmopolitan and is a great opportunity for anybody who is considering to be close to India or wants to be in Asia. On that note, this video has come to an end. Let me know what did you think of this video. Let me know in the comments everything that you thought about this. Have you considered Singapore? Have you considered Hong Kong? Have you considered neither of these, either of these? Do you think that it's a good opportunity? And if there's any other country that you'd like me to cover, whether in Asia or somewhere else, or any other program, any support, anything like that, let me know in the comments, all of that. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button down below and subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure that you keep up with me on Instagram because I tend to post a lot of content there as well. And those are some amazing opportunities that I would not want you to miss out on. Promise to see you in the next video. Until then, make sure you take care of yourself. Stay safe. Namaste.